This is a list of the 8 reforms which the report has covered. The vast majority of these reforms are reforms initiated by the present coalition government in Westminster, though there are elements of particularly the incapacity benefit reforms which have been working their way through the system in the last 2 or 3 years, but which were initiated under the last Labour government. So we've been looking at everything going on simultaneously over the last few years, and not simply at those things triggered after 2010. What's not on the shopping list, the first 2 there, the housing benefit under occupation rules, better known as the bedroom tax, and the changes to council tax benefit. Of course, you reached arrangements up here in Scotland which have made sure that the financial losses arising from those elements of the overall Westminster reform package are not being passed on to claimants up here in Scotland. Universal credit is not covered in our study either, because it's a fundamentally different sort of reform to the others. It's not about reducing the amounts spent on benefits, certainly not the amounts spent directly on benefits. It's really a packaging of existing benefits. Everything that we have done starts off with the Treasury's own estimates of the overall financial savings arising from each element of the reforms. And then in order to work out the impact on different types of households, we've brought together a number of different data sources, in particular the Family Resources Survey, which tells us how much benefits different types of households draw upon. The figures I'm going to present are for the impact when the reforms are fully implemented. And that term fully implemented is important because the reforms are by no means fully implemented at this stage. The incapacity benefit reforms in particular are now badly delayed. You will be aware that there's been an enormous build-up of appeals in relation to the work capability assessment, and that the prime contractor, ATOS, walked away from its contract. Now, the cumulative effect of all of that has been to introduce quite a hiatus in the process of implementing the incapacity reforms. And because that element, the work capability assessment element of the reforms, has been delayed, that has knock-on consequences for the implementation of the time limiting of non-means tested entitlement for those in the work-related activity group. Reforms to DLA, the changeover from DLA to personal independence payments, that is mostly something that is still in the future and won't begin to kick in a big way until after the general election. This juncture, in the spring of 2015, around about 30% of the total financial losses arising from welfare reform are still in the pipeline. That in all of these estimates that we've produced, everything else is held constant. In particular, we've made no assumptions about lower benefits leading to higher employment. These are our revised and updated estimates of the overall impact of the reforms on Scotland. We're now calculating that the total financial loss when all these reforms have come to full fruition will be a little over 1.5 billion a year. In terms of where the hits are coming from, there's quite significant shifts in the batting order there. We were estimating originally that the incapacity benefit reforms would lead to by far the largest financial losses. The Treasury has revised down its estimates of the financial savings there. I think it's because they've taken better account of the compensatory means tested benefits that kick in. On the other hand, the savings now anticipated from DLA reform and from tax credits have increased. Let me now begin to move on to the impact on different sorts of households. We know, for example, the first one on that list, that the housing benefit reforms in the private rented sector impact on mostly working-age, low-income households. We know that they have a particularly sharp impact on the under 35s, and particularly men under 35, and that they kick in quite strongly for large families. But importantly, of course, all of these reforms are happening simultaneously. Several of them impact at the same time on the same individuals or households.